Welcome back, everybody. Ready for another deep dive?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Okay, great. Today, we're tackling something I think a lot of people struggle with, and that's setting personal goals.
You're right. It can definitely be tough.
Yeah, I know. I struggle with it. And so we're going to use this FinShots Money newsletter called Get Set, Go All to help us.
Sounds like a good plan. I'm interested to hear what they have to say.
Me too. And what I really like about this particular newsletter is that it's all about figuring out what truly matters to you, not to, like the Joneses or to some influencer on social media, but what matters to you individually.
I like that. It's so easy to get caught up in comparing ourselves to others.
Right. And I know we've touched on this before in a previous deep dive, but understanding your relationship with money is like the foundation. It's so important.
It really is. I mean, how can you set financial goals if you don't even know how you feel about money?
Exactly. So how does that tie into setting effective goals, once you figure that part out?
Well, think about it. If you're someone who really values experiences, right? Maybe more than material things, then your goals probably should reflect that.
Okay, yeah, so you'd maybe focus more on saving for travel or investing in something that helps you grow as a person rather than, I don't know, buying fancy cars or whatever.
Oh,
Right?
precisely. And that's what FinShots is all about. It's about figuring out what brings you genuine fulfillment, not just hitting arbitrary numbers, but figuring out what's truly important to you.
Right. It's like what's going to make you feel good about your life?
Exactly. And they make a really good point about, this whole thing about social comparison, right? Especially now with social media, it's so easy to fall into that trap.
Oh, tell me about it. Everybody's like, posting these perfect curated pictures of their lives.
Right, but we don't always know what's going on behind the scenes, right?
Exactly. People could be in debt up to their eyeballs and we don't even know.
Exactly. So it's so important to remember that everyone's journey is unique.
Totally. So how do we break free from that whole mindset, the comparison thing? How do we just focus on ourselves and what's important to us?
Well, FinShots has this really cool technique they call finding your why.
Ooh, I like that. Finding your why. Tell me more.
So it's about taking a common goal, like retirement, right? And digging deeper into why you actually want that.
Okay, so it's not just about like I want to retire by 65.
Yeah.
It's like why do I want to retire by 65? What am I going to do?
Exactly. Like, what do you envision yourself doing with all that free time? What's the real reason behind wanting to retire?
Yeah, that makes sense. So you kind of have to like peel back the layers of the onion a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. Like maybe you want to retire early so you can travel the world, or maybe you want to finally write that novel you've been dreaming of.
Or open a bakery. That's what I want to do. Open a bakery.
I love it. See, you're already uncovering your why.
I am. I really am. But okay, so how do we do this? Like how do we figure out our why? Sometimes it's not that easy, is it?
No, you're right. It can be a little tricky, but FinShots has this fun exercise, like a fill in the blanks kind of thing to help you get started.
Okay, I'm always up for a good exercise.
So the first one is, if I want to break out of my 9 to 5 and feel truly alive, I would. And then you fill in the blank.
Oh, that's a good one. Like what would you actually do if you didn't have to work anymore?
Right. And the second prompt is, if I won the lottery, the first thing I'd do is...
Wow. Okay. Both of those are really good for like making you think.
They really are. They force you to get honest with yourself about what you truly desire.
Yeah, for sure. Now I'm kind of curious, like what did the Cinchot's author, what did they say? What were their answers?
Well, for the first one, they said they would go on a fabulous holiday with my closest friends.
Okay, so travel makes sense.
Yeah, it seems like connection and experiences are really important to them. And for the lottery prompt, they said they would build a house.
Interesting. So maybe like creativity and having a space that really reflects who they are is something they value.
It seems that way, right? It's amazing how much you can learn about yourself just from those two simple prompts.
It's true. But what about people who like draw a blank? They get those prompts and they don't know what to say. What does that mean?
That's a great question. I think sometimes it means they maybe need to spend some time just thinking about their values and passions.
Right. Like what's important to them, what gets them excited.
Exactly. And sometimes it's just a matter of giving yourself permission to dream.
Yeah.
To think big and imagine all the possibilities.
Yeah, I love that. So it's not about forcing an answer, it's about using those prompts as a starting point.
Exactly. It's a journey of self-discovery.
I like that. Okay, so let's say we've pondered those prompts, we've come up with some answers. What's next?
Well, now it's time to start organizing all those goals and dreams into a framework.
Ooh, okay, so this is where we start getting practical.
Exactly. FinShots recommends categorizing your goals based on your desired time frame.
Okay, so like short term, long term, that kind of thing.
Yeah. They suggest breaking it down into short-term goals, things you want to achieve in the next 5 years, medium-term goals, which are 5 to 10 years out, and then long-term goals, the big dreams that might take a decade or more.
Okay, makes sense. Can you give me some examples?
Sure. So a short-term goal might be building an emergency fund or paying off a credit card.
Okay, yeah, those are good ones.
A medium-term goal might be buying a house or starting a family.
And those long-term goals, those are the ones that get me excited.
Me too. Those are the ones that really make you dream big, like early retirement or
Yeah.
traveling the world.
Yes, exactly. But Finchhouse makes a good point that it's not just about listing those goals. We need to like make them more real somehow.
Absolutely. They say you need to make them as specific and tangible as possible.
Okay, I like that. So instead of just saying travel, you'd say something like, I want to spend 3 months backpacking through Southeast Asia.
Exactly. You're adding those vivid details to really bring those goals to life.
Yeah. Yeah, like I can almost picture myself there.
Right. And that's the power of it. By making those goals so vivid, you're actually increasing your motivation to achieve them.
I love that. It's like you're tricking your brain into believing it's already happening.
Exactly. And speaking of making things tangible, FinShots has another great suggestion. They call it the vision board secret.
Ooh, okay. Tell me more about this secret.
It's all about creating a visual representation of your goals, like a vision board.
I've always loved vision boards. It's like a collage of your dreams.
Exactly. It could be a physical board with pictures and inspiring quotes, or you could even create a digital one.
Yeah, and it's so fun to make. It's like arts and crafts for grown-ups.
Haha, it is. And it's a great way to stay motivated. You put it somewhere, you can see it every day, and it just reminds you of what you're working towards.
And it's something you can share with friends and family, too.
Absolutely. It can spark conversations and inspire others.
Yeah, I like that. And you know what? I think this whole vision board thing, it really speaks to our learner persona.
Yeah.
It's about taking information and making it more engaging and memorable.
You're so right. It's about making the process of goal setting fun and personalized.
Now, you mentioned earlier that FinShots uses Pink Floyd lyrics to talk about goal setting.
Oh, yeah, they do. They quote the song, Money, new car, caviar, 4-star daydream, think I'll buy me a football team.
Uh-huh. Classic. I
Yeah.
love that song. But what's the point they're making with those lyrics?
I think they're highlighting that everyone's goals are different, right? What might seem like a dream come true to one person might not even be on another person's radar.
Okay, yeah. So it's not about, like, copying someone else's goals. It's about finding what truly resonates with you.
Exactly. It's about owning your individual aspirations and pursuing those goals with passion and purpose.
I love that message. So far we've talked about figuring out our whys, categorizing our goals, and even making them visual with a vision board. What's next?
Well, once you have those goals categorized, it's time to get down to the nitty-gritty and start thinking about the practical aspects of achieving them.
Okay, so how do we do that?
Well, FinShots recommends adding a timeline and a budget to each goal.
Okay, that makes sense. So we're taking those dreams and grounding them in reality.
Exactly. So for the timeline, they suggest assigning a target year to each goal.
So if my goal is to buy a house, I might say, okay, I want to buy a house by 2028, for example.
Exactly. That gives you a concrete time frame to work towards. And then for the budget, they advise estimating the amount of money you'll need to achieve each goal.
So, like, if our goal is to travel the world for a year, we need to research how much that would cost and then figure out how much we need to save.
Exactly. And they acknowledge that these might just be rough estimates at this stage, which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, you don't need to have every penny figured out right now.
Right. It's more about starting to think about the financial resources required to make those dreams a reality.
Okay, so we've got our goals, we've got our timelines, we've got our budgets. What now?
Well, the next step is to figure out how to turn all of this into a concrete financial plan. And that's actually what FinShots is going to cover in their next installment.
Perfect. So I guess that means we'll be diving into that in our next deep dive.
Absolutely. We'll explore how to take those goals, those timelines, those budgets, and transform them into a practical, actionable plan.
I can't wait. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder.
Hmm.
Now that you've had a chance to think about your ideal future and all these amazing goals, what's one small step you can take today to move towards one of those goals?
That's a great question. And remember, it doesn't have to be anything big or complicated. It could be as simple as setting up a savings account, doing some research, or even just having a conversation with someone who's already achieved a similar goal.
Exactly. The important thing is to take action, no matter how small, and start building that momentum towards your dreams.
Because those small actions, they can really add up over time and lead to some pretty incredible results.
I love that. It's all about taking those first steps and believing in the power of possibility.
Absolutely. It really is amazing, how taking even just a little step can change your whole mindset. Like suddenly you don't feel so overwhelmed anymore. You feel like, okay, I can do this.
You're so right. It's all about taking action, right? It's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly. So maybe let's take a minute just to recap what we've covered so far in this deep dive into goal setting. We started out talking about, making sure your financial goals are actually in line with your values, right?
Yeah. We talked about how important it is to understand your relationship with money before you can like set effective goals.
Right. And we also touched on that whole trap of comparing yourself to others, especially with all the perfectly curated lives people present on social media.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get sucked into that vortex of comparison. But we really emphasize the importance of focusing on your own unique path and your individual journey.
Yeah. And then we talked about that idea of finding your why, digging a little deeper and figuring out what's really motivating you.
And we had some fun with those fill in the blank prompts, right?
Oh, those are great. I love those kinds of exercises. They really make you think.
Me too. They really helped me to sort of uncover some of my deeper desires and get clarity on what I really want to achieve. And then we moved on to talking about categorizing our goals based on the time frame. So like, short-term, medium-term, and long-term goals.
Right. It's a good way to create a roadmap for action, right? It breaks down those big, overwhelming goals into smaller, more manageable steps.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And I think we also mentioned that it's not enough just to list your goals, right? You need to add those specific details to make them real, make them vivid.
Right. Instead of just saying, I want to travel, you could say, I want to spend a month backpacking through Southeast Asia, trying all the street food, immersing myself in the culture.
Yeah. The more specific you can be, the more motivating and inspiring those goals become.
Absolutely. And then to really keep those goals front and center in your mind, we talked about, the power of a vision board.
Oh yeah, vision boards, love those. Such a fun and engaging way to stay motivated and connected to your dreams.
Right. It's not just about writing your goals down in a notebook. It's about bringing them to life, through visuals, colors, textures.
Yeah, and it's a fun activity you can do with friends and family too.
Yeah. Absolutely. It sparks conversations. It inspires people.
Yeah, I love that aspect of it. And then we also touched on adding a timeline and a budget to each goal,
Yeah.
right? So we're starting to like really make those dreams more concrete.
Exactly. It's about, taking those first steps towards turning those aspirations into a real plan.
And speaking of turning dreams into plans, I'm really excited about the next installment of that FinShots newsletter.
Me too. I think they mentioned they're going to be like diving into the specifics of creating a mini financial plan, right?
Yeah,
Based on those goals we've identified.
that's going to be so helpful. I think a lot of people they 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 have those big dreams, but they maybe just don't know where to start, in terms of actually putting together a financial plan.
Right. It's one thing to say I want to retire early or I want to buy a house, but it's a whole other thing to figure out, how much do I need to save? What investments do I need to make? How do I manage my expenses?
Exactly. That's where having a clear financial plan can really, really make a difference.
Yeah. It's about taking those inspiring visions and turning them into actionable steps. And that's what we're going to be exploring in our next deep dive. So stay tuned for that.
I can't wait. It's going to be fascinating to really dig into those strategies and see how we can, actually take those dreams and turn them into a tangible plan for financial success.
I think it's really all about empowering ourselves to take control of our financial futures,
Yeah.
and create a life that really aligns with our values and aspirations.
Right. And that's what this whole podcast is all about. But before we wrap up this episode, I wanna leave our listeners with one final thought-provoking question.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Now that you've had a chance to reflect on your goals, to visualize your ideal future, to even start thinking about the practical aspects of planning.
Yeah.
What's one small action you can take today to make those dreams feel a little bit closer?
That's a really good question. And the beauty of it is the action can be anything, It can be big or small. Maybe it's finally setting up that savings account, specifically for your travel fund, or maybe it's having a conversation with a financial advisor to explore different investment options, or maybe it's, even just blocking off some time in your calendar to work on that passion project you've been putting off.
I love that. It's about taking action. It's about, creating momentum. It's about starting to build that bridge between where you are now and where you want to be.
Right. Because even those seemingly insignificant actions, when you do them consistently, they can have a ripple effect. They
Yeah.
can lead to really incredible transformations.
It's all about believing in the power of those small steps and trusting that they'll eventually lead you to your desired destination.
I love that. It's about embracing the journey and celebrating each milestone along the way.
Okay. On that note, we'll wrap up this part of our deep dive into goal setting. But the conversation doesn't have to end here, right? We encourage you to keep reflecting on those goals, to keep visualizing your ideal future, and to keep taking those small but powerful actions.
And we'll be back soon to explore how to actually transform those dreams into a concrete financial plan.
Until then, keep diving deep and keep reaching for those stars.
Keep dreaming big.
It really is amazing when you think about it. We really do have the power to create our own futures.
Sure.
But I think sometimes, it's easy to get so caught up in just the day to day, all the little things that we kind of forget about those big dreams and aspirations that we have.
Yeah, definitely. Life has a way of just kind of taking over sometimes.
It does. It really does. But I think it's so important to take the time to actually sit down and reflect on those goals, to visualize, what we really want our lives to look like.
I agree. And I think having a clear financial plan in place can make those dreams feel even more attainable, It's like having that roadmap.
Oh, I like that. Financial roadmap.
Yeah, to guide you on your journey.
Yeah. It takes all the guesswork out of it. It's like, okay, I know what I need to do. I know where I'm going.
Exactly. And it's about, taking those inspiring visions and breaking them down into those actionable steps.
Yeah.
But it's important to remember too that creating a financial plan, it's not like a one-time thing,
Right.
It's an ongoing process. It's something that you need to, revisit and adjust along the way.
Yeah. Because life is full of, unexpected twists and turns, right?
Yeah.
So our financial plans need to be, flexible enough to kind of roll with those punches.
Yeah, definitely. That's why it's so important to look at your plan regularly,
Yeah.
See how you're doing. And then make any changes that you need to make to stay on track.
Yeah, that makes sense. Speaking of staying on track, I'm kind of curious to hear your thoughts on dealing with setbacks.
Yeah.
Because let's face it, they're inevitable on any journey.
Right, yeah,
So
absolutely.
how do we navigate those challenges without, getting discouraged and just giving up on our goals altogether?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think the first step is to kind of reframe how we think about setbacks.
Okay.
Instead of viewing them as failures, see them as opportunities to learn and grow.
Oh, I like that. So it's not like a full stop. It's just
Yeah.
a little detour.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a little bump in the road. And it's also important to remember that progress, it's not always linear.
Right.
There will be times when, you feel like you're taking 2 steps forward and then 1 step back.
It's like a dance, right? Sometimes you're flowing and everything's, moving smoothly, and then other times you kind of trip over your own feet a little bit.
Oh, I love that analogy. It's so true.
But the important thing is to just keep keep moving to the music.
Yes.
Uh,
Keep dancing. And just like a dancer practices their steps, we need to practice patience and perseverance when it comes to achieving our financial goals.
yeah. Would you would you say consistency is key here?
Oh, absolutely. It's about, making those small but consistent efforts over time that ultimately lead to those big,
Right,
transformations.
right. And celebrating those wins along the way, right? No matter how small they may seem.
Yes, acknowledging our progress, even those little wins, it helps us to stay motivated. It reinforces that belief that we're actually capable of achieving our goals.
That's a really good point. Well, I think that's a beautiful message to end on. This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel so inspired to just keep going on this journey of personal growth and financial empowerment.
Me too. And remember, this journey, it's uniquely yours. So embrace the process, celebrate your progress, and never ever stop believing in the power of your dreams.
That's perfect. And on that note, we will wrap up this episode of the deep dive. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of goal setting and that you're feeling inspired and motivated to start creating a future that really aligns with your values and your aspirations. So until next time, keep diving deep and keep reaching for those stars.